Thanks for tuning in to Module 2, Part 1, Do Now and Exit Slips. Today's objectives are to identify the characteristics of a do now or an exit slip, and to identify the purpose behind a do now or an exit slip.
So we all pretty much are familiar with these words and know what they are. Do nows are introductory activities, exit slips are concluding activities. So that's pretty simple. What we want to do in this module instead is ask the question, how do the traditional do now and exit slip fit into this lab model of blended learning?
So when we look at a traditional lab model of blended learning, in a typical classroom, it's when a teacher teaches in the classroom and then takes the class to a computer lab or an area with computers and allows students to continue working there. We're fortunate enough to be having Chromebooks and going to this one-to-one model, which should save us a lot of instructional time and give us the flexibility to work with our students in one area. When we think of the lab model of blended learning, we need to start thinking as our lesson is broken up into little blocks or chunks of time. So in this picture we have a do now block of time, an activity or main bulk of the lesson block of time, and an exit slip block of time. The main question that we want to take away from this is, are these blocks fixed, or can we maneuver them around to best fit our lesson?
And that's the real benefit of the lab model of blended learning, is these are not rigid blocks of time anymore. You have the fluidity to move between a do now and maybe multiple activities, maybe refer back to a do now or jump ahead to the exit slip whenever it's convenient for you and your students.
To better understand our goals behind do nows and exit slips, we need to look at the purposes behind do nows and exit slips. The first one is to assess current knowledge. What do they already know? So this is obviously a do now that we would throw at the beginning of a chapter before we teach anything in that chapter. We want to see where our students are so we can try to address and spend more time on the areas in which they don't know about.
Another purpose of a do now or an exit slip could be to identify misconceptions that the students have. This would typically be in the form of an exit slip at the conclusion of some kind of lesson. And you'd be gathering data to try and figure out what your students didn't understand or didn't fully understand from that lesson. And then what you can do is use the data you gathered in that exit slip and apply it to the do now questions that the students participate in the following lesson.
Also, by collecting this data, it allows us to differentiate instruction. We're able to see which students know the material and which students have some misconceptions that they need to identify. By allowing students of different levels to work together, the goal is to have the higher level students, or the ones that get it, be the teachers in small groups, helping bring up the knowledge of the students who have a lot of misconceptions on whatever topics you're going over.
And lastly, of course, do nows and exit slips both allow you to simply measure the understanding of your students to kind of let you know whether you have to go maybe revisit some concepts or when it's okay to move on to new concepts.
So what we're going to do is we're going to move on and provide you with some examples of do nows and exit slips. We're going to take a look at a video discussion method and a quiz discussion method. Both of these will be in their own separate little videos, so make sure you check them out. Maybe come up with a couple do now examples or exit slip examples that you use currently in your class. Thanks for watching this tutorial, and go out and blend something.